Hello, hello, hello. This is the Q&A call. And for everyone who, oh, you know what I just realized? I have to see. Hi, Kendi. I am looking to see how to connect this with Zoom. I see just the very top of your forehead. Hello, my dear.
Hello.
There we go. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am so good. I'm trying to figure out how to connect this with, yeah, I was trying to connect this with Facebook, but it does not seem to be share content. Hold on. Oh, we did this the other day and it worked, but you know what? I think maybe because it's not on webinar format. Okay, well, we're gonna have this call here and then I will just place the recording in the Facebook Live. So I'm gonna really quickly make an announcement, and for all of you hopping on now, I opened this up 10 minutes early so that I could answer everyone and have it all's questions. Make sure you all got a spot. So welcome, welcome. Let me go into the Freedom from Inflammation. Everyone know they need to hop on Zoom, or I will share the recording live. If you guys, while we're just getting this, if you could all your phone or mute your computer so that there's not background of dogs barking or whatever they may be. That way people can hear me really clear.
Busy, stop.
Thank you guys. All right, editing this post. And then when you, for the next 10 minutes, if you have a question, I'm just gonna let you unmute. I'm doing this on my phone, which is a little different than normal. Only one second here, multitasking. Only Zoom is working. Will post the replay tonight. Okay. All right, so you guys, everyone in my Have It All program, you all get the extra TLC. If there's any specific questions that you have, then go ahead right now and just unmute yourself one at a time and ask questions. It's all about Q&A. So let's see, can I see who all is here? Participants? Luann, Elaine, welcome. Jan, Kendi, Christy, Nadine. Welcome, you guys. Even if you're not in Have It All, go ahead and ask any questions you may have. Just unmute yourself. And if you don't have any questions, I'll start going down this list. But I'll wait just a minute to hear from you. So many questions. We had 93 questions that people posted. I hear a sound. Who is that?
This is Elaine.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Feeling really good. In fact, really surprised at how the cravings have calmed down for me, so that I just don't run in the house and grab everything. However, that's being said, there are times when everything goes wrong, and kids are sick and people need you and everything. And I want to know how to handle those moments when I'm hungry. I know I'm not in easy reach of something that's really good for me. I try to have a Larabar in my bag or whatever. But if I go past a certain point, I'll just go off the program. I'll just grab anything until I kind of calm down. So 2 questions, I guess. What do you do in that situation? And the second one is, if you do that, how do you detox yourself so you can come back to that level ground where you feel a little bit more control?
Such a good question. So the first one is about prevention, and the second one is, okay, but if we fall off the wagon, how do we get back to it? So I'll first answer prevention, right? Prevention is, like you said, you're like, I try to have a Larabar or something in my bag. Sometimes those sound exciting, sometimes not. When we're tired, stressed, and hungry is when we reach for foods that are inflammatory, which is kind of what you just described to me. It's what happened to me last night, if you saw my post. And really the key is two pieces. Number one, having food on hand, whether it's a bar, a Rewind bar, and maybe have a few different kinds so that you like have some choices. If you're like, that Larabar sounds terrible to me, maybe a Rewind bar sounds good, or an RX bar or something like that. And then if you're at home, right, if you're at a place where you're at home and your grandkids are around, I always try to have lots of protein cooked and made in my refrigerator or in my freezer. So I'll like do batch cooking and make like the muffin 10 meatballs and then the spicy turkey sausage patties. Maybe I'm going to make the muffin 10 meatballs and use leftovers for a few days, but I'll make a triple batch so that I can put 2 extra batches up in the freezer. And that way, the next time I do spicy turkey sausage, I'll do the same thing, put some in the freezer. And so what happens is your freezer becomes a stockpile of options that you can pull out and thaw out really quick if you don't have anything in the refrigerator, right? Or say you're getting home from vacation and you're like, your house is empty, but you have this protein. The reason I say protein is, remember, that's what really helps to stabilize your blood sugar levels, your insulin levels, and helps you to feel satiated. So part of feeling stressed, it's like we want to eat something so we don't also feel hungry because we want to be comforted, right? When we're stressed, we want to be comforted. Yeah. And food comforts us, right? Yeah. The two different parts of food that comforts us is one, just having a sensation of being full, but the second part is like the sweet treats. So also I do the same thing with my cookies, with brownies. You know, when you make sweet treats, make them in triple batches. And do the same thing as I do with the protein, put a bunch in the freezer. In fact, I just did this the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a craving. And I had these cupcakes from when I was doing the TV studio, because I made a triple batch knowing I don't need those all for the TV interview, but I'm making them. Let's make more so that they're there. So I took out a cupcake and had that. It was amazing, right? So that's my trick for prevention. And then the other thing is, when you make the conscious choice to eat the bar or the RX bar, or hi Carla, will you mute yourself, sweetie? To eat the Larabar or the RX bar or whatever it may be, tell yourself, I am eating health. I am gaining health by eating this way. So the more you're able to do that, right? Carla, the mute button's in the bottom right corner of your screen. The more you're able to do that, the more the food tastes good. And you're like, oh yeah, that's my why. It's not just because I should or because I'm on some diet or something, right? It's because I'm eating health. I am gaining health. And for me, when I remind myself that, the food tastes so much better. But then oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, and then so when you do grab the rock, how do you detox yourself and get back to a better place?
Yeah, so this is really good knowledge for everyone to know. It takes 2 weeks, 10 days to push the, Patricia, hi sweetie, will you mute yourself please? To push the inflammation out of your body from any of the toxic inflammatory foods. 2 weeks. When I learned that, it really made me think about the choices, like giving into cravings a little bit differently. It gave me a perspective, right? So knowing that, I'm like, do I really want to reach for this Twix bar, which used to be my favorite thing in the entire world? Is it worth detoxing that for the next 2 weeks and not really being able to move forward with my health because I'm so inflamed and having to put the toxins out from that?
Good.
So if that happens, you go back to the basics, right? You drink a gallon of water every day. You eat clean protein every 2 to 3 hours, and make sure you have clean treats on hand, because you will definitely when you're detoxing, the cravings will hit even more. Your body shifts on a chemical level. And when that happens, the cravings hit even more. So it's like, you know, I remember when I was still trying to like wean myself off of the top 6 inflammatory foods, and I'd have a glass of wine. And I was like, I'm choosing to have this glass of wine, but I already had like meat or protein prepared for the that hour and the next day. And I already would start drinking my gallon of water, you know, right after I had the wine. And I was very prepared to do the clean protein gallon of water and clean treats, because you will crave them. So have them prepared so that you don't say, oh, well, I had the Twix bar yesterday, I might as well keep going. That's what happens to a lot of people. That's the really vicious cycle we get in. I messed up, therefore I might as well keep messing up. And then we begin to tell ourselves we can't do it. It's like this whole mental component that adds to it, right? I see some of you nodding your heads. So really important is first have all the action steps in place: clean water, clean protein every 2 or 3 hours, a clean treat, because you know those cravings are going to hit. You know you're changing your chemical makeup. And then also be really conscious of your thinking. Do everything you can to raise your awareness. You know, take Epsom salt baths, give yourself time to rest while you're detoxing, and see the thoughts happening. I mean, it is entertaining if we choose not to identify ourselves with the thoughts and we see them go by. It's like, wow, our thoughts get really interesting, a little bit crazy, and full of stories when we're detoxing. So being conscientious of that so that we don't fall prey to them is important.
Thank you.
Such a good question. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. It is 12 o'clock, you guys. So I am going to start reading some of the questions here. There were over 93 questions. I don't know that I'll get to all of them, but I'm going to do my best. And here's what I want you to notice. The information that I'm sharing, some is very obvious, probably, when I answer these questions, and some are going to be nuanced, right? I think you guys who have hung in here this long are seeing that there's this big impact you can make right away by swapping out the processed sugar, drinking water, eating clean protein. Like, lots of magic in your lives has showed up. So cool. If you want that to continue, right, there are even more, there's nuances in how we address inflammation, how we address anti-inflammatory eating, kind of like in our mindset, just like I was discussing a minute ago, that will support you moving forward. Okay? This is why it's important to have, if it's me or someone else, an inflammation expert in your corner, because these nuances, this is not streamlined information that you can find out there. Some of it is. Okay. Petro says, I've been eating apples, bananas, grapefruits, and mandarin oranges in place of any kind of sugary sweets. I know I had a sugar addiction and I don't crave sugar at the moment. And I'm really scared that if I eat any of the baked treats in your book or even the healthy bars, I'll start craving it again. Do you think that's a reasonable fear? I think that our mind controls much of our reality. So if we fear getting sick again, if we fear gaining weight again, if we fear cravings coming back again, then they eventually will. Our mind achieves what our mind believes. Okay? I'm going to say that again. It's a good one. Our body achieves what our mind believes. So if we believe we're going to get cravings, we probably will, because we're thinking about it. And the more awareness we have on having cravings, we're probably going to bring it into our life. So that's really important. What's also very important is taking action steps to support what our mind is believing. And what I would say, Petra, is getting that clean protein in every 3 hours and drinking your water is the biggest thing to stop cravings in your tracks. If you feel deprived right now because you're not eating the sweet treats that you're used to, like if you're used to eating cookies and lemon bars and brownies and you're not eating those, you're like, oh no, only fruit, but you're feeling deprived, then the chances are high of you falling off the wagon with an inflammatory lemon bar or cookie or brownie, rather than giving yourself the anti-inflammatory version. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay. And then next question. I just want to really quickly here see. Okay. Sorry. What do I? Okay. Next question. Is spelt flour okay? Ilka, I know you're in Germany, you're probably sleeping. Is spelt flour okay? Yeah, it's okay. It's one of the nuances. It's something that we dive more into in the group coaching program, but you guys are learning how to listen to your body right now. And that's what I want to tell you is listen to your body. Try it on, see how you feel without trying other stuff on, right? If your body says, I like it, awesome. Just notice if your body does not like it, but you want it to work. Your mind wants it to work. Does that make sense? Our mind will try to sometimes take over and tell us, oh no, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. It's something else. It's the asparagus I ate or the egg I ate or something, right? Like the best thing I can tell you, which I've already told you all, is keep it simple. Go back to the basics. If you added something in that's not, that's maybe questionable in terms of the top 6 inflammatory foods and you don't feel good, my recommendation, take it out. See how you feel. What else? When buying vegetables, Randy asks, is it better to get frozen or canned in grocery store? I definitely recommend organic frozen vegetables more than canned. It's not to say that cans are terrible, but there's aluminum. The cans are just not the best. And so when you can buy organic frozen, that's if everyone mute their cameras or computer, appreciate that. I'm hearing some back noise, so if everyone could mute, please. I hear music playing. But yeah, whoever listening, yeah, thank you. Okay. Wendy Eaton says, when one of your recipes says virgin coconut oil, are you also talking about solid content? Most of my recipes, you can melt it. So Brenda, can you please mute yourself, or Robin? Thank you. Most of the time, you guys can melt or have it hard. Like my recipes, as you guys have seen, it says melted, melt it. But if it doesn't say, then most of the time you can actually do either way. The recipes are super simple, but I do always refer to coconut oil as extra virgin coconut oil. Kathy says, when you say honey is heated, it changes on a molecular level and causes inflammation. It is heated when used for baking and cooking in your recipes. Does that cause an inflammatory response? So it does change the molecular makeup, but because you're not heating it twice, it's not already a processed sugar, processed honey that you're then reheating and reprocessing. That's what seems to do the most amount of damage to people. I find that when people bake it once, it is okay from an inflammatory standpoint for most people. The next one, Cindy Wells says, chicken broth. She cannot find any chicken broth without processed sugar in it. Huge congrats to you for being a Renegade researcher first, Cindy. And yeah, Pacific, I think, used to have free-range organic chicken broth that was amazing with no processed sugar in it. Who would think processed sugar is in chicken broth? The reason why we need to read the labels of everything, the ingredients label of everything we put into our body. The only brand that I have been able to find in the States, and at least like Intermountain West Coast, is called Imagine. It's a relatively new brand. It's a free-range chicken, free with no processed sugar. So read the ingredients, but Imagine is the brand. Okay, Annette says, I'm sure you covered it, but I don't remember. Lime. Does swapping sugar to anti-inflammatory sugar affect your blood sugar levels too? Yeah, really good question. And I addressed this on day 1 when we talked about people who for diabetes, pre-diabetes, or insulin resistance. If you're worried about your blood sugar levels because of Brenda, can you please silence your computer? Thank you.
No, I'm sorry. I'll have to click out. I'm at work.
Okay. Then using these, even anti-inflammatory, the non-processed sugars, right, can definitely will change your blood sugar levels. Absolutely. For a diabetic, sugar. However, or someone, even if you're not diabetic, someone with insulin levels that are a little bit unstabilized. Miss Katie, can you mute your computer, please? If you have that issue, two things. You want to focus on sugars that are low on the glycemic index, which would be raw agave or unrefined coconut sugar, right? Those are what you want to use to really keep your blood sugar levels down, and make sure you incorporate that clean protein every few hours. That is key. Nancy says, Nancy Peterson, can you provide examples of what we can eat or order at restaurants, breakfast and dinner options? I like to get together with friends and family, go out to eat. Yeah, so here's what I do, you guys. I figure out, instead of looking at everything on the menu, which I did for years, and then trying to ask the waiter if I can have it free of the top 6 inflammatory ingredients, where he would then go to the chef and come back, and it would be this long dialogue that was super embarrassing, uncomfortable. It made eating out really not fun. Instead, I did two things. I changed the way I ordered, and I also changed my thinking around going out to eat. So when I went out to eat before, it was all about the food that I was getting. Like, I had certain restaurants and certain meals that I love to go and eat, right? And instead, I changed my thinking about going out to eat with, it's all about the company that I'm with. It wasn't about getting this special dish. It was about being present with the people I'm eating out with, which was actually a very magical and beautiful experience. And then to go out to eat and follow anti-inflammatory eating, most of the time, I shouldn't say most of the time, but there's a very good chance that when you go out to eat, even if you cover all your bases like I tried to last night, inflammatory things are going to make their way into your food. We don't have control over what it is that we're eating, and no one in the back is reading all the ingredients labels of all, like, they're probably not reading the free range chicken broth to see if processed sugar's in it, right? They're probably assuming there's no sugar in it. So what do? Number one, I ask, what protein do you have? Instead of looking at the menu, I simply say, what protein do you have that can be cooked without any oils? Diane, please mute your camera, thank you. That can be cooked without any oils and is not marinated. Marinades almost always have processed sugar, canola oil, which, by the way, is highly processed, highly inflammatory, and they actually use a type of petroleum in the processing of that oil. And while they say they extract it all, there's some remnants that stay, like so gross. So in the marinade, processed sugar, soy, wheat, and canola oil are extremely prevalent. So I always ask for a meat that's grilled. Rebecca, please mute. You guys, please mute. Everyone check right now. Bottom left corner of your screen. Is your screen muted, pretty please? I cannot do it for you. Thank you. When you go out to eat, if you can find a protein that's not cooked in oils and no marinade, and then I just tell them, I say, I need extra virgin olive oil, and I ask for some sort of vegetable sauteed on the side. And you have to emphasize extra virgin because restaurant grade olive oil is legally part canola oil, part olive oil. So you have to tell them extra virgin. That is my trick to going out to eat. And you guys, it's fun, from really fancy restaurants to like at Applebee's. I've done that all over the place. And it's kind of like a grab bag. I don't know if any of you remember grab bags from when we were little. Like, it was a surprise bag, and I've gotten shrimp shish kebab to really fancy meats. And sometimes chefs will even go out of their way to make fun, delicious sauces, and it's really cool what happens. Okay, reading the next thing. Okay, Catherine Ferguson says, please discuss the differences between nut butters. You use almond butter because folks have peanut allergies or because peanuts are inflammatory. Peanuts are one of the many nuances in anti-inflammatory eating that are inflammatory. Peanuts themselves, when they grow on the peanut tree or the peanut bush, I'm not sure which one, they're not typically inflammatory at that state, although their high levels of omega-6 and too many omega-6 fats cause inflammation. That's for a different day, right? But the peanuts themselves, there's been actually a number of research papers about this, that when they get to the processing plant, when they all get together and they're lying on top of each other for some reason, that creates the perfect environment for a mold to grow on them. And it is the mold that so many of us have reactions to. It's why peanuts, there's a very high peanut allergy among the human population, is because of the mold. So even if there's no processed sugar in it, peanuts are one of the many nuanced inflammatory foods. And all, like nut butter, cashew butter is probably the best for you beyond almond butter. Almond butter is just super popular and people know what it is. But there's nut butter, almond butter, cashew butter. I'm trying to think of other common butters. Walnut butter, those are fun. And then there's hemp butter. There is sun butter made out of sunflower seeds. And there's even pumpkin butter made out of pumpkin seeds. There's a lot of different options that you can play with. Some have more protein than others, which is nice. And hemp butter is really high in omega-3 fats, which are anti-inflammatory. Lucille says, I drive the school bus and cannot watch during that time. My question is, could you offer the 5-day sugar swap again, maybe with a small fee of $50 and open-ended so people can do it anytime rather than a set date? Please stay tuned. I will announce not only the lucky winner of my Have It All program tomorrow morning, but also a very exciting announcement regarding that topic. Carol Luggate was wondering if molasses and blackstrap molasses are different. They are. Blackstrap molasses is the kind you want to use if you are using it as a sweetener. Carol Luggate says, is oatmeal okay? It really depends on the person. And again, this is what we dig deeper into and to Have It All. Identifying which foods are inflaming you on an individual basis. So for now, for everyone, it's step 1. You guys are at step 1 of step 9 in this big anti-inflammatory, removing inflammation from your body process. At step 1, it's great, right? Oatmeal is great. But when we get to more of the nuanced identifying how it's impacting you, which would be a number of weeks from now in the Have It All program, once we have removed many of the other top 6 inflammatory foods, at that point in time, we'd be able to see if it's impacting you. Some people do okay with grains and some people don't. Alberta Kaufman says, I need a great coffee creamer. My favorite coffee creamer is coconut milk from a can, right? Because that's typically the cleanest coconut milk version you can get. Just organic, non-GMO coconut milk, and then add a little bit of vanilla cream, stevia, liquid stevia. It's so good. Are tofu and miso inflammatory? Really good. I can't remember seeing anything about soy. Soy is another one of the smaller inflammatory players that we learn about and Have It All. Yes, it does cause inflammation. There's fermented soy and regular soy. Fermented soy causes less of an inflammatory response. However, all soy messes with our endocrine, our hormonal imbalance. It causes a lot of hormonal imbalance. So I try to avoid soy at all time. And if I am having it, I also make sure, which is very rare that I have it, that it's non-GMO. Because remember, corn, wheat, and soy are the 3 most common genetically modified foods on this planet. And unless it says certified non-GMO, you're getting an endocrine disruptor in your hormones. You're getting genetically modified food, which is one of the top 6 inflammatory foods. And no bueno. So I do not eat tofu or miso personally. Are there any vitamins that we should take? Kathy Dollop says. It depends. There's definitely not something I can just say right here. There are some supplements I recommend to people inside Have It All when I better understand their medical conditions. I am not a doctor. I certainly can't prescribe anything to you. I can just share what I know, why different vitamins work to support different things, and then you would need to make that decision. There are a lot of vitamins that support a lot of different things. However, this is an important aspect to think about. Sometimes we get caught up in all of the supplements and the going to the gym. Not to say going to the gym is bad or taking supplements is bad. I do both, right? But here's the deal. It's so much less about that and so much more about how you show up in terms of removing inflammation from the body. That is the fastest way you will heal. Okay? If your phone number is 701-412-5755, please put yourself on mute. Thank you. Let's see here.
Upgrade request. Chris had a need for report.
If your number is 701-412-5755, please put yourself on mute. You guys, everyone, please put yourself on mute. My goodness gracious. This is interesting. I wish I could mute you all, but okay.
Yeah, I show anywhere from starting January.
How can I somehow mute them all? Mute on. Okay, now I can mute you when you enter. Stop talking. Someone says, I'm a chocoholic. Sandy Dalton, how do I switch sugar and still get my chocolate fix? Girlfriend, you need to find Honey Mamas. Honey Mamas chocolate bars. You can buy online. They have them at our local store. They are delicious. If you are speaking on the phone, please mute it.
682, and then it starts dropping.
Oh, you got. How do I mute them? I'm gonna see if anyone is chatting and can tell me how to mute them. And I'm on my phone. Oh, mute all. Ta-da! Yay! Much better. Okay, sorry about that. I don't like yelling. Okay, so much better. So we were talking about chocolate. Honey Mamas is so amazing, and it's made with raw honey, raw cacao, pure maple syrup, extra virgin coconut oil. Like, it is high class, really delicious. Again, you can find it online at honeymamas.com. Some grocery stores carry it. It's not as prevalent, but it will be found in the refrigerator section because there's no preservatives in it. That is definitely my favorite chocolate. Then if you haven't tried the avocado chocolate frosting, from my vanilla chocolate cupcakes and piece of cake book. That is so good just to make on your own and dip a strawberry in or eat it by the fingerful. It's so, so good. And then there's another chocolate called Hu, H-U, which uses coconut sugar. So there's like 2 or 3 different chocolate bars that you can buy, which are free of inflammatory ingredients. Super amazing, super delicious. Nancy Peterson says, can you please provide food options to eat at restaurants? Oh, we already talked about that. Okay. Teresa Pupuri says, I've been experiencing skin hives, rashes, and have moved around since August. I have had so many symptoms prior to this outward skin problem, but just brushed it off as being tired due to busy workload and life. Now with your help, I realize inflammation has been building up for years and just getting worse. I'm so frustrated and trying to get to the bottom of it. Should I be taking supplements or full elimination diet? Thank you for all the great information you've shared. This group is so helpful. Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. So you guys, here's the deal. You, again, I don't take supplements. I do not recommend taking supplements before you change your diet, right? Because when you change your diet, you will be able to absorb the supplements and experience the benefit of them 10 times more effectively, if not more. I've seen that time and time again for my clients as well as myself. So first thing you want to do is follow all of the steps in the 5-day processed sugar swap challenge. Get in a gallon of water, eat clean protein, swap out your processed sugar, and then dive into the top 6 inflammatory foods that we discuss and have it all in my 9-week online group coaching program. That is how you want to do it, mama, and your symptoms will reverse or significantly improve. Very, very cool. And I love, by the way, that you're having a heightened awareness of how inflammation is impacting you. You guys, that's step 1. We don't know that. We don't realize it. Then we don't have motivation to do anything about it. And it is amazing inside Have It All. Just the other day, someone said, who had done the sugar swap challenge, and she said, oh my gosh, I have so much more insight now as to how inflammation is impacting me throughout my entire life, my entire body, my mindset, mental and emotional, as well as so many different physical aspects. It's really important to see that awareness. Someone says, what should we do? So Lisa Whitaker says, what should we do if we cannot get all the water down in one day? I'm struggling going to the bathroom all the time. If you're going to the bathroom all the time, my dear, it's because your body is pushing loads of inflammation and toxins out. So when you drink a gallon of water or a bunch of water, it floods your body and pushes the stored toxins that were inside your organs and tissues and joints into your bladder. Remember, inflammation is another word similar to toxins, right? So it's pushing concentrated toxins into your bladder. And there are like red sirens that go off when your bladder, imagine it's a pool, right? And it's just 1/4 of the way full, but it's full of concentrated toxins. Your bladder sends the red sirens go off and sends a signal to the brain saying, alert, alert, we need to eliminate right away. I don't want to be sitting in a pool of toxins. So what you'll find is that until you've really eliminated a lot of the major toxins and inflammation in your body, you are going to be going pee all the time. And this comes down to mindset. When you pee all the time, is it inconvenient? Totally. It's a pain in the butt, right? I can't tell you how many parking lots in Wyoming I've peed in. But here's the deal. I embrace it because that's how I know that inflammation is leaving my body. And by the way, for those of you looking to lose weight, it's also how we eliminate the fat pockets and storage of fat in our body is by peeing. Now, once you get to a point where you've changed your diet and you're consistently drinking a gallon of water or very close to, if you're a really small adult, maybe a little bit less, right? You will get to a point where even though it's flooding the body, those concentrated toxins aren't as intense. They're more liquefied. Is that a word? They're more liquefied. And when that happens, your bladder can fill all the way up like it's meant to before it sends a signal to the brain to eliminate. So you may find, like I often would drink a gallon of water a day and pee only 3 or 4 times because my bladder would fill all the way up. I'd have a long pee, I'd eliminate, right? And then it would fill all the way up before the signal went to the brain. But that takes a little while. Good question. So Barbara Muse says, how much water should we drink a day to rid our bodies of toxins? A gallon of water, my friend. Oh, Barbara McCall-Petrick. She says, is there a commercial ready-to-eat cereal that is anti-inflammatory? There's actually a new company called Power O's, relatively new. And their original, meaning not flavored, there's like chocolate and apple and a bunch of other flavors that have processed sugar. But the Power O's, which look like Cheerios, are made out of garbanzo beans, water, and sea salt. And that's it. So there's no processed sugar in them, and they look like little Cheerios, which is amazing for all of you mamas and dads out there, right? It's a great option to give your kids. And then the other one that I really like is Elizabeth's Best. They make a granola that's super tasty and made with coconut sugar. So both of those are great options. Brenda says, this has been the most real program that I've ever seen. Oh, thank you, Brenda. I was wondering if I ordered products from Amazon or Thrive, can you see all the ingredients in things? Thrive does a really good job. So if you don't know what she's talking about, Thrive Market Online is an online grocery store that sells at wholesale price. And I think they charge $50 a year per membership. I saved that in my first order. It's amazing. And they have a lot of health food products. You can also sort by like paleo or sort by different categories. And they do a good job of, you can find the ingredients online. Typically you can on Amazon, but I would say Thrive is really consistent with that. And it saves a lot of money. They don't have produce. They do have some meat that they'll send people, like grass-fed, free-range meat, which is nice. No produce, but a lot of products. Angie Koger says, how did you ever discover this was a big factor in your health condition? I can see where the motivation comes from because of it, but it is so crazy to think how you came about this. Thanks God you did. Just curious. Okay, I kind of butchered that, sorry. But how did I find out inflammation was a piece of this? You know how I am always talking about be the change you wish to see in your family? That's because my mom was that change. So shout out to Kathy Bressler if you're listening, mama. Here's what happened. My mom had chronic Lyme for over 20 years, and she was constantly on the search to heal. And it got to the point where it was so debilitating, she had to sell her clothing designer company. And she just committed her life, her days, every day, trying to find a method of healing. She did Western medicine and alternative medicine and Eastern medicine and everything under the sun. She tried to eat really healthy, did all kinds of different diets and plans. And it wasn't until she began working with an anti-inflammatory health coach, such as myself, that she began to melt the symptoms from her body, like so many of you have been experiencing for the first time in 20 years. And about 9 or so months after she began working with a health coach, I had my baby, Tosh, my first child. And he was very sick. The first year of his life, he was in and out of hospitals. We spent more time in hospitals when he was alive because he was super sick than I missed for maternity leave. So we spent like a month in hospital one time and a couple of weeks, a few other times, and a few days other times. He had tonsillitis, and he had chronic inflamed and adenoids and infected adenoids. He had abscesses in his throat that 2 times actually stopped him from breathing. Very, very scary stuff. He had chronic ear infections. His whole respiratory issue was chronically inflamed, but I didn't know what the word inflammation was. I didn't know anything about it. I was trying to, I gave him like organic Annie's mac and cheese and organic granola bars and tried to give him like organic health food, but it was really organic junk food. And I just didn't know that. Because inflammation goes to the areas we're most susceptible to, that was his susceptible area. And unfortunately it became a life-threatening situation where he ended up in the ICU for a number of days. When we came home from the last month-long stint at Primary Children's Hospital, I was so stressed out, as you can probably imagine. At the time, I was a middle school teacher working like 55, 60 hours a week. I remember Tosh in the ICU, and I was like, oh, I need to write sub-plans. Like, I was so spread thin. And there was immense amount of stress in seeing my brand new little baby boy fight for his life. It was super scary. And so when we came back home, due to stress and me wanting to comfort myself through all that stress, I had started eating a lot more processed foods and sugary foods. Like I remember every day, twice a day, going and getting cookies at the hospital cafeteria when my son was in the hospital, and going and getting Italian food and like all these inflammatory things. So I was trying to comfort myself, right? And I came home, and over the course of the next 6 months, I was completely exhausted. I wanted to go to bed at 5 o'clock in the afternoon every day, the complete exhaustion. Those of you who know it, it's real, right? Like you don't have the energy. You go grocery shopping, but you don't have the energy to bring in the groceries. You start doing a load of laundry, but you can't fold it. Like there's just the energy is totally zapped. And with that came hormonal imbalance. I gained a bunch of weight. I got on antidepressant meds, and I've always been the person that loves life. So that was a big, big surprise for me. And so I was trying to figure out what was going on. I couldn't figure it out. And so I ended up going to doctors who told me I was getting an autoimmune condition, but they didn't know what kind, which was so helpful, right? So here I am with a sick boy. I'm sick. My mom is healing though. And she says, Jenny, you have to try this. You have to try this way of eating. And I did. And within months, my symptoms began to melt away. And then they totally went away. And the pot of gold was feeling so great mentally and emotionally. I felt grounded. My brain fog cleared. I had great memory. I felt present. I felt joy. I got off antidepressant medicines. In fact, I got off all the medication that I had been on by maintaining this way of eating. And that is why I so emphasize my Have It All program, because it is in maintaining where the magic shows up, you guys, not just in experiencing it for a short time, falling off the wagon and not having the support to get back on. I hired a coach for like 5 years. 5 years. Granted, I was going through a lot of stress, but I was like, I need that support. I've never had someone need to work with me that long, but I'm just saying, we need support as humans, right? There's a lot of stress going on. So that's how I figured it out. I realized that, okay, inflammation was making my mom sick. She was able to begin reversing her symptoms. I did the same thing, adopted anti-inflammatory eating. My symptoms began to melt away. And around that time, we found out that my son had a severe sensory condition. A drop of water would land on his shirt and he'd scream and say, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. He'd want to tear his shirt off. We couldn't put multiple layers of clothing on him to go outside at recess in the wintertime because he would just have a fit. He struggled with attention. It was really impacting, his sensory condition was impacting his day-to-day way of living and learning. And I thought, as I recommend to all of you, let's try a science experiment. And so I knew it takes 2 weeks to push inflammation from those top 6 inflammatory foods out. And so I said, all right, for 2 weeks, I'm going to make all of his breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and snacks, because he'd eat well at home, but he'd go to birthday parties or celebrations or go to school and eat foods that were inflammatory. And in 2 weeks of really being in congruency, right? His symptoms significantly improved, and within 2 months, they were 85% better. So I then realized I heal, my son heals, and our life is significantly better by adopting this way of eating. How in the heck am I going to make it a reality in my home? How I'm going to do it so I don't feel overwhelmed and he doesn't feel deprived. And that's really where my mission has come from. So that's a long explanation, but that is how I figured it out. Let's see here. Oh no, where'd my questions go? Q&A questions. Here we go. Oh, Janet says, everyone seems to be losing lots of weight. I'm only down 2 pounds. What's up with that? I love it. Okay, so here's the deal, you guys. Some of you are losing a bunch of weight because there is a lot of inflammation stuck in your body. The body can't lose 12 pounds of fat, typically, in 5 to 10 days. But it can lose 12 pounds of inflammation. We're not losing water weight, which is what a lot of people end up doing when they do super restrictive diets, right? You are losing, or even more so, they lose muscle instead of fat. But in this, you are losing the inflammation. Inflammation shows up on the scale. And so those of you who work with me and have it all, you know that I really recommend you journal your food on MyFitnessPal and then enter your data every single day, which is your weight after you go to the bathroom. Before you eat or drink anything, you weigh yourself. You put your symptoms, how much water you drank that day, any sort of stress you've had, and exercise. And so we look at those data points and we cross-reference it with the foods you're eating to determine what's inflaming you on an individual basis, right? And you will see consistently that your weight goes up parallel to your symptoms getting worse. That's because inflammation shows up on the scale. Some of you, 2 things will happen. Some of you can just melt inflammation off of your body really quickly. Some of you, before you begin losing very much inflammation, the systems, whether it's organs or endocrine or whatever type of system, in your body that is struggling, that may begin to be repaired before your body can even release anything. Okay, so healing happens first, weight comes next. A lot of people may experience a big initial weight loss due to all the inflammation leaving the body, which you will look physically different by doing that, right? And then you kind of plateau. There's things that we can do and that we talk about and have it all to reboot your metabolism, to increase your metabolism and keep the weight loss going. But the first thing that's going to happen is that you have to heal inside on a cellular level. Fat loss requires a lot of energy. And if there are issues in the body that's compromising the well-being and even the way that your body survives, shows up to survive, it will automatically go to heal those before it uses the energy to release the fat. So that's a really good question. Tammy Bradley says, Bradley says, will there be more dinner and lunch ideas? I'm not doing well with my meal prep. I don't like meat warmed up in the microwave. I have, if you join Have It All, one of the bonuses you get is a 3-month meal plan where I teach you how to streamline in the kitchen. I give you like laid out step-by-step directions on how, like what to cook, when to cook it, to make it so that you can actually make all of your food for a family of 4, breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and snacks in 2 short prep days in the kitchen for the entire week. It's very, very cool. And there's a bunch of recipes that are not in my book that are in those. Janet Irene Lord says, does anyone remember which kind of coconut ice cream Jenny said was good? Coconut Bliss, my friend. That is the best one. Be careful. Do read some of them with chocolate chips have cane sugar, but the rest of them just use coconut sugar. Rebecca Colagio Thompson, sorry if I butchered that, says, thanks for the restaurant tips when using Evo. Do you worry about the toxicity that can come when sauteing at a higher temperature? Is that when you would recommend something like coconut oil or avocado oil? Yes, coconut oil and avocado oil are the best to cook at higher temperatures because those can hold up in high heats before deconstructing on a molecular level and causing an inflammatory response. If you're doing a low saute, olive oil is usually does pretty well, but anything super hot, you want to use coconut oil or avocado oil. Let's see here. Wilma Mallory says, should I be eating more potassium-rich food since I'm going to the bathroom all the time? That's a really good question. Our health, okay, so the state of our planet is significantly deprived of minerals. And that comes from the quality of our soil. Our soil, directly due to our planet's health, is lacking small trace minerals, and all minerals, but especially small trace minerals. And so that means if you imagine a bunch of broccoli, 20 years ago, I think I saw a stat that said 20 years ago, a bunch of broccoli or a bunch of spinach, right, was equal to, one bunch of spinach now was equal to, I believe it was 7 bunches of spinach 20 years ago when it comes to the amount of vitamins and trace minerals found in that. So very quickly, our soil is becoming more and more depleted, which means our plants, everything that consumes the food that we eat on this planet is deprived of minerals and vitamins, but especially minerals. And so we have to eat more and more whole foods to get the amount of minerals that we actually need. Again, to get the best bang out of your buck, stick with the top 6 inflammatory foods and swap them out. But if you're like, I have that nailed, adding a vitamin or a mineral isn't going to hurt me, then yeah, getting some trace minerals is a good thing to do for anyone. Lisa Dudley says, what's your recommendation of the best sweetener for a diabetic to use? I think we talked about that. So stevia or monk fruit are sweeteners, naturally derived sweeteners versus sugars. So they have 0 grams of sugar in there. That's ideal for a diabetic. And then if you are going to use something that is a sugar, using raw agave, it needs to be raw because agave is highly processed and causes an inflammatory response if it's not raw. But raw agave or unrefined coconut sugar are the next best options that are lower on the glycemic index than all of the other non-inflammatory sugar swaps. Liz Truax says, what vegetables and fruits are okay for you to buy non-organic? There is a list if you Google the Dirty Dozen. Look up the Dirty Dozen. Those are the fruits and vegetables you want to make sure to buy organic. It's always, I can't remember all of them, but it's definitely things like berries and pears and apples, grapes for sure, peaches and nectarines, anything that can be kind of easily, is very fragile, can kind of easily be bruised or bumped or rotten. Those are important to buy organic. And then counterintuitive to what many people would think, root vegetables are really important because a root vegetable will sit in the soil and there's a little pool of water that kind of forms around the root. And as the pesticides spray and then the water is sprayed on top of the vegetables, the pesticides seep down into that pool and the root vegetable ends up sitting in a pile of toxins. No fun. Paulette says, what would be good if cholesterol is high? You don't want to go into meds. Follow, have it all, honestly. Take out the top 6 inflammatory foods. Follow all the steps. I have always had people's cholesterol drop significantly when working with me. Really, really good results with that. What else? Yeah. So Sherry Hammond, we were having a little bit of a conversation. You said, I've been following this eating plan very closely for 2 weeks, but so far my blood glucose hasn't come down. I'm pre-diabetic and looking for a way to head off diabetes. I'm drinking a gallon of water most days and at least a half a gallon other days. And what I said is, how's your daily protein intake? And you said, I'm having oatmeal every morning with my granola, chia seeds. Lunch is usually fruit or a slice of your bread with almond butter. Supper is always meat and vegetables. So you're getting very little protein throughout the day. Chia seeds, while it is a complete protein, there's only a couple of grams, if even, in the granola that you're getting, along with the hemp seeds, and very little in the bread, right? So those are great. You're doing a good job removing the inflammation. But if you have an insulin resistant or you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you have to get that 15 to 20 grams of clean protein in every few hours. How to do that is what we'll dive more into in my Have It All group coaching program, which doors close at the end of the day today. What else? Amy Robbins says, I think I heard you can take a blood test to measure inflammation. Is that true and how accurate? Yeah, there's an IgG and IgA test that you can do to measure inflammation. I know it's relatively common, like with functional medicine type doctors and some Western medicine doctors as well. It is, I don't know how entirely accurate. I know that when people have told me that their IgG and IgA tests are high, it reflects what I'm hearing and seeing from their symptoms. But I guess my question to you is, if you know that you have a lot of inflammation in the body, if you have chronic symptoms in the body, that means you have a lot of chronic inflammation. So my suggestion would be, save your money. Don't do the test. Follow this protocol. And I know that you've signed up for Have It All. So we're going to get lots of inflammation out of your body. Wait until you get to a point where you're like, whoa, I feel amazing, right? And then have it tested and see if there's something showing up that we're not aware of. Really good question. Janet Irene says, is buckwheat flour okay? Again, that's just something you'll have to play around with, or we can dive into more during Have It All. It's one of the nuances that affects each person a little bit differently, but you could certainly try it and see how your body responds. You guys, it's all about listening to our body and being really aware. Like, for example, the person, Nina, who said, or it wasn't Nina, but a couple questions ago, someone said, my blood sugar levels aren't stabilizing and I'm following your program to a T. She actually, and this is no offense, this is just all of us do this, so this is totally respectful, but she wasn't following it to a T because she wasn't getting the 15 to 20 grams of protein in every few hours. There's a lot to take in to understand why our body is responding in certain ways and what pieces we're missing, which is one of the key reasons, you guys, to have, again, someone like me, even if it's someone else, it doesn't really matter, right? But have someone that understands the ins and outs of how this all fits together so that we can say, oh, you're doing it perfectly, but there's this one little missing piece that can make a huge difference in your life. Elizabeth Bennett said, does it matter what temperature the water is? A friend said I should be drinking so much water. I shouldn't be drinking so much ice water. You guys, this is one of the things where we can make things complicated, right? Keep it simple. Whatever you need to do to get a gallon of water in, whether it's room temperature or ice temperature, is absolutely perfect. If that is helping you get a gallon of water in, then drink it ice cold. That's great. People are asking if there will be another time or another group opening. So it seems to me that a lot of people are requesting that they get, they want continued access to the Processed Sugar Swap Challenge. And to everyone, you guys are so amazing in this group. I love you. I am so sad to be closing this group, but there's no way that we can afford to keep it up and running with the amount of support that we need to be in integrity and make sure the information that's either we're sharing or other people are sharing is accurate. That is really, really important to me. Again, we've talked about how nutrition can be really confusing. There's a lot of nuances when it comes to inflammation and removing inflammation from the body. And I am a girl that stands in integrity, and that, even if it comes at having to close this group, that is better to me than you guys getting false information, thinking you're doing it right, not experiencing health, or even worse, having worse symptoms. And then we start to tell ourselves, oh, I do it right. There's something wrong with my body. I'm never going to get sick or get better. There's like a whole mental, emotional aspect that happens with it. But please stay tuned, because Saturday morning, I do have a special announcement to support those of you who want a continued Facebook group. So stay tuned. I'm going to be announcing that tomorrow. It's a project we've been working on, and we're down to the thread getting all the details done, but we will have it done. And tomorrow morning, when I announce the lucky winner for the Have It All program, I will also share that detail. Connie Sealer says, is a regular Keurig K coffee cup okay? No. If you drink coffee, it is one of the most pesticide-ridden plants, foods, drinks that you can put into your body. So it's really important that you drink organic coffee. Super, super important. And if you drink decaf, it's very important that it's Swiss press organic coffee, because when they process the coffee to make it decaffeinated, it does, there's like a lot of kind of fillers and things that happen there. So you need to make sure it's Swiss press. Here's the deal with coffee, you guys. Caffeine directly impacts our hormones, specifically our adrenals and our thyroid. So the more tired we are, the more our thyroid and adrenals are typically off. But then we want to use coffee to not numb ourselves out, but to say, okay, instead of listening to the symptom and taking a nap and changing my diet and drinking water and doing everything I need to give you love body, I'm going to drink coffee and force you to get the jitters, force you to get energy. That is the opposite of listening to our body. So what you really want to do is ask yourself, why are you drinking coffee? And if it's because you're tired all the time, we need to change the way you live your life so you can heal and live without coffee. Coffee also can make it difficult for the liver to process toxins fully. So, you know, for some people who are processing toxins fine and who their adrenals and thyroids are stellar, which is very few people in our modern day stressed out society, right? But if you do fit that bill and you're drinking organic coffee without the sugar and the cream, amazing. Otherwise, I recommend swapping something out for coffee. All right, Roberta asked about vitamins, which I already addressed. Oh, this is really important. Debbie Davis Velikoff, I believe. She says, my question is about prescription medicines. Do we continue taking them or just have enough faith that this way of living will heal our bodies so that we no longer rely on them? You absolutely continue to take them. You need to work with your doctor to wean off of them as your body heals. It takes 120 days on average for the cells in your body to regenerate. This is not in 5 days I feel better, amazing, now I'm going to stop taking the meds. Do not do that. Do not do that. You could cause harm to your body. Work with your doctor. You can even go every few weeks and have your doctor look at, doctors are not you decreasing medication. So it may take a little bit of conversation, let them know what you're doing. Most people start a medication and it just increases throughout their life. But you all are learning to grow young. You all are regenerating the cells in your body. You all have the ability, for most people, depending on what kind of health condition you have, to get off of meds or at least significantly reduce them. I used to be on Armour Thyroid, 120 units of Armour Thyroid for my thyroid. I used to be on medication for my adrenal, to be on antidepressant medication. All of it's gone. No more. But did not happen overnight. It took months and months, and in some cases, a couple of years of maintaining this way of eating and balancing my macronutrients, my protein, carbs, and fats in a way that best supports my hormones. That is huge for rebooting your metabolism and stabilizing your hormones. Number one, first you want to take out the inflammation, and then we need to find the right macronutrient balance of protein, carbs, and fats that will best support your hormone balance and start to fire up your metabolism, getting it really hot. Someone asked, is it normal to be more hungry as you eat this way? Yes, because for the first time in your life, maybe the first time in a long time, your body, your metabolism is finally getting real food, no longer processed toxins. And as that happens, the metabolism is like, ooh, I can actually use this. And your metabolism, if you can imagine a campfire, right, is like your metabolism. And if you put dry wood systemically and equatedly on the campfire, it burns hotter and hotter and hotter. Same thing is true of our metabolism. If we put dry wood, which is clean food, and equatedly, so eating kind of the same amount of protein, carbs, and fats, and finding the specific balance of protein, carbs, and fats each day, you can reverse hormonal imbalance. I have done it. Many of my clients have done it. My mom has done it. You can absolutely supercharge your metabolism, and you will find that as that happens, you do become hungrier and hungrier. So you will lose weight as you eat more. This is not a caloric restriction diet, you guys. After the third day of significantly restricting your caloric intake, your metabolism begins to slow down. This is why diets don't work that are calorically depriving. Your metabolism starts to slow down at day 3. It gets slower and slower and slower. I think we typically manage to stay on a diet for anywhere from 14 to 21 days. And every day that you're having less and less calories, your metabolism is getting slower and slower and slower. You feel deprived. You don't have enough fuel for your body to fully live and function the way it needs to with all the vitamins and minerals and whole foods. So when you get off of the diet, what happens is that you end up eating the way you normally did or eating more foods, and your metabolism is so slow. Many people will either gain back the weight they had and sometimes even more. Really important to know. Okay, you guys, I think that is basically it. We have used up our time, but it is so amazing to help you. It has been such an honor to support you in this journey, and I'm really, really, really grateful that everyone has shared so many of your wins. With that said, you just heard of all of the subtle nuances that are required to anti-inflammatory eating. You guys, I could keep going on and on and on and answering questions. So the question to ask yourself is, do you need support? Have you in the past been able to follow programs or diets or protocols to gain health and maintain health? And I know the answer is no, or you wouldn't be here. So what can you do to help yourself experience consistent and vibrant healing, to really know all the ins and outs of what causes inflammation and how to remove it from your body? That this Have It All 9-week online group coaching program is the answer. Doors close at midnight tonight, Friday, so be sure to sign up. There are loads of bonuses. If you didn't hear Patricia, our Feng Shui expert, on how to Feng Shui your house to gain health, be sure to check that out. That is one of the added bonuses. But if you guys want to sign up, do it now. Time is of the essence. And go to www.jennycarrhealth.com/coaching. Tomorrow morning, I will be announcing the lucky winner. But remember, if you're waiting to try to win the lottery, you're going to miss out on your opportunity to sign up for Have It All. So sign up now. And if you win, then I will reimburse you the cost of the program. Rebecca says, thank you. You're the best. Thank you. Love you all so much. And have a beautiful day. Stay tuned tomorrow for the big announcement with our Facebook group and the lucky winner. I hope to see you all inside Have It All tonight as you keep signing up. Have a beautiful day.